Good morning, video traders. Please like my video. Comments below are appreciated, especially if you're seeing something I'm not seeing. If you guys are seeing any setups, that I should have my eyes on, be sure and post the tickers or something down in the comments. We're all here to make money together. This is a free service. If you can give me an opportunity. Yesterday, my big trade of the day was ARM out of the gate and had a really nice win. I was on my cell phone, so I took 20 and 30% wins off that trade. It went much higher than that. I think I could have made over 50% on the trade, but like I said, I was on the cell phone and I was away from my computer. But that was a really nice win, over $1,000 on the trade. Afternoon, I tried to do a short on IWM, but I didn't check all my indicators properly before entering. Made a mistake and stopped out on it. It was up. It just missed my targeted profit, and it reversed, and so I ended up taking a small $120 loss on the trade. No big deal. But only two trades yesterday, and trying to keep it, 3 trades or less on any given day. Trying to focus in on some of the best setups if I can. Okay, guys. So some things I got going on here, guys. I have got volume profile default, volume profile steady that comes with Thinkorswim. A lot of people, they've been asking about market webs, which I've been showing you guys, but you can actually do the same thing I'm doing with market webs with volume profile. Okay, it's default with Thinkorswim. And what I do in the morning, what you would do in the morning here is you see the market webs currently. Go over here on your edit studies. It's currently set up on the day market profile. And as a day trader, if you're trying to set it up, you start on the weekly. Okay. And some of my main takeaways going into here, guys. So, what do we have going on here, guys? What's this really telling us right here? Right here, this here is your point of control for the week, current week. Okay. And we have been holding a level, a very critical fair value gap level. Okay. And so basically, this here, this right here, is our breakdown trigger. So we have a bearish trigger for the week here on SPY using our market webs. So basically, this is now, you can mark this out, current week supply right here at the weekly point of control here on SPY. So, now we have a confirmed supply level that, because we are rejecting down below it. Okay. And you can look at the volume profile and you see how the volume just drops off because the CPI news. We came rocketing up after the CPI news came out earlier this week. Well, we created a fair value gap. And what we're getting this morning here at 4:57 in the morning, we're repairing this fair value gap created by CPI news. That could be all we get for the day. You never know. But this structure, this was a bad structure coming into the session. Okay. And so be very mindful of that. And we had a lot of reason to think, given the close we had yesterday, that you needed to have some shorts on, short exposure going into the overnight session, given the price action into the close on in a lot of the markets, and it is playing out so far today. Okay, guys, because the bottom line is, so 1600. We closed right here into the fair value gap. So this particularly wasn't giving us that uh, signal, but this was a major trend line rejection. Uh, and a major, that's our trend line rejection and the point of control. And we were closing, just be very mindful how we were closing, how we reject wicking away from that yesterday, giving us a very good indication that the bulls were getting nervous up in this price point. Okay, guys. So as far as what I'm seeing today, guys, and that I should always start with my weekly webs. Okay, guys, and this gives us two volume distributions for the week. This here looks like it's being rejected. So now I would, in theory, I would be thinking we'd be coming down here to see if we find any value into this lower distribution from Monday. Okay, that's kind of my theory going into today's session. Okay, there is a secondary trend line that's been acting as support on Monday. Okay, the trend line comes in right here. That's, I think, where we're headed. So I put us down into the 579, 578 area, somewhere in this area. Could be a hard back test for a double bottom right here. Okay, So let's definitely keep this on watch. And this is the expected market maker move high for the week. So bottom line is we weren't even expected to get beyond that before the China meeting Saturday. Okay, Saturday and Sunday. So coming back testing that, that really saves Wall Street by coming back down and back testing that, because Wall Street is really uh, uh, underwater because their bets and stuff. So let's definitely keep that one on watch going forward here. Now, it doesn't have to do what I'm suggesting here, but that is some of the ideas I'm looking at. Now, what you can do, guys, after you do the weekly webs, go in here, edit studies, and to delve down using this study. You start with the weekly, you go over to the daily to help draw out your levels. Okay, guys, and what you can do on so we had 2 days right at the very same spot. Whenever you get a point of control right exactly at the same spot, 2 days, that's actually giving you a fairly firm supply level that you can trade against. Bottom line is going up into that. You want to short. It's giving you and plus all the wicks above it. That's giving us a very good indication of supply that's happening at that price point, and you want to be adding to the short side before the big move. Okay, guys, and that's exactly what we have playing out this morning. They accumulated supply into resistance, and now they're taking some profits off the table. So we don't know how deep it's going to go, but I'm pretty sure I would be looking for this area right here, and we still have another fair value gap from the China news, which may or may not fill. I mean, this does at some point need to be repaired. We know this is likely a major resistance for SPY. Okay, and this here also may want to get repaired this week. So I don't know if that's going to happen. We do have the secondary target, last week highs, back test, repairing this fair value gap, getting back to last week's highs. I mean, very reasonable thing that could be playing out in today's session. So be very mindful of that, okay? Or this week's session. So we definitely want to keep that in mind. And down here in the purple, that is last week's close area, okay? Down here in the purple area, basically giving up. This could be a blow off top for the week, and we're just going to go back week on week, flat on the week. And that's still a very reasonable scenario that could be playing out before the week's out, And the bottom line is, if this is a major top of the market, I'm telling you right now, this is a top watch that we completely give up all the week's gains if this is a major top in the market. I don't know if that's the case, but something to definitely worry about here. Okay, and RSP, guys, RSP. So let me go here in the daily real quick. I'm going to show you this chart. This is the trend, regression trend from these highs. And bottom line is we came right up into that regression trend and immediately rejected on the equal weight S&P 500. I mean, literally, we didn't even get much of any ticks above this regression trend, and we're coming off of that. So this could very easily be a major high, trend high in the markets, and a complete uh, uh, blow up of um, this week could very well happen. So let's be very mindful of that. And we're currently right above on the equal weight or S&P 500. We're currently right above the China fair value gap. Okay, that's another thing to be very mindful here. So the S&P, because it's so weighted with Megatech, it's not giving you the same signal that the equal weight S&P is giving you. The equal weight suggesting that we're breaking right into, we're going to start giving it the China fair value gap, possibly early on in today's session. So we have to be very mindful of that. I mean, this could be, you see, we're already trying to push into that fair value gap, suggesting the breadth is not supportive of prices at these higher prices. And that's giving us a second. Just telling me, do I really even want to think about looking to the long side? I think we hit a major supply point, and we're probably going to be shopping for lower prices until we're proven otherwise. Qs, guys. On the 30-minute here. So we got this first fair value gap. We haven't even filled that yet. So this was the CPI gap, and we have not even filled the CPI gap, showing relative strength here in Megatech land. So, this is really important here. Megatech still showing relative strength. That we don't want to overly think that we're going to get a deeper pullback whenever the uh, the biggest names in the market are not leading to the downside. They're actually supporting the market still. So, that's why if you're going to be short, you want to be taking profits along the way because of this chart. Okay, just be very mindful of that. This is showing so much relative strength in the markets. So be very mindful of that. We have a major trend line down here. The back test of this trend line would be great if we could do it. Okay, that'd be the basically 507. The 507 back test is 507-ish back test of that trend line would be great in my opinion. And we do have, like I said, two major fair value gaps just this week that that's poor structure in the markets, reaching into what is potentially a major market high. So, don't get me wrong, we can digest sideways, bull flag, and then continue to the all-time highs. That is definitely a possibility. But a lot of times the markets have to repair this structure before they can push higher. And ideally now that I would be looking for these Monday highs to be the major test. Coming down, back testing Monday's highs, repairing this fair value gap at the very minimum for a pop back up. I would be looking for this Monday high back test fair value gap scenario to be playing out. Basically, the CPI trigger, this area, at the least, in my opinion, before I would be, and ideally, be coming down all the way down to the trend line, back test that trend line again. And honestly, the trend support, this green line right here, that is our actually our supporting trend line. So, ideally, I would much rather be at 503 to even be thinking for a bounce because these are our two major ranges. Actually, this is actually can be changed into green now. Sorry, I didn't update that. Didn't even realize it. Okay, this is our green support, potential green support. Um, so, this is resistance, this is support, that's our trading range. So ideally, this down here, this is where our trend support is located and trading range low. So this would be my primary move. If I move all the way back down to 503, back test, before I'd even want to consider taking longs, So in my opinion, that is your primary setup in today's trading session on the Qs. IWM. IWM's been showing a lot more relative weakness. The very same day CPI triggered, we didn't get a fair value gap, and it immediately in that session we lost the CPI trigger on that, and we are into major 4-year resistance. I've been shorting every day, trying to short IWM. Yesterday was the first one I actually took a little loss, and we have a major trend line. This here is a major trend line resistance as well. So two major resistances that we are fading away from in today's session. Okay, we still have this fair value gap below us from the China news over the weekend. This one here is looking more and more like the RSP, fading like the RSP, equal weight of the S&P 500. So, suggesting because there's 2,000 stocks in the S&P, the Russell, suggesting breadth is much weaker. The megatechs is what's been holding this market up. That's what this is basically suggesting to us, and very well we could be filling this fair value gap. So we have to be very mindful of that. We do have a prior week high down here. I would be suspect that we could be very well going into last week's highs, repairing this structure, um, or even like I said, it could even be worse. We could be going to prior week's close. If this is a major top in the markets, going back to prior week's lows is not out of the cards at all. I mean, I think that would probably, very well be the top two scenarios, given the price action that I'm seeing in the Russell, that we completely give up, all the upside before the week's out, and we're right back to last week's close. So just be very mindful of some of those scenarios that I am seeing in today's session. Uh, as far as volumes go this morning, pre-market, let me get this sorted right. NVIDIA down. So let's get this going here. NVIDIA, I haven't really looked at it. So we looked above this major supply, and we're back into this supply. And back testing supply. We got this trend. Looks like we might be breaking the trend early on this morning. So be very mindful of this. Let's keep a very close eye of a potential rejection. This is a back test. This is a technical, as we speak right now, this is a technical back test for a bullish continuation. But we know this is a major target that a lot of traders were looking for. So we hit a major target yesterday, the 136 area, and now we're doing a big back test. Basically we could actually just, chop around up here very well. But as you can see on my channels here, this could be a breakdown pattern as well. So be very mindful of that on NVIDIA. Palantir, wow. So we did try to put higher highs. Look at this, how we got two supply areas on the daily right here at the same area. You can put a line on here as supply, tradable short as that acting as supply, the 129 area. Now we're fading away from that. This is our core back test area. So we could be very well coming back down for the 122 back test, or worse, even worse. You never know. But ultimately, our main demand is way down here at 110. So, this thing could actually get brutal if the markets decide to sell off all the way down into 110 area. So be very mindful of that. Going forward here, AMD. Okay, AMD's really strong trend. Here's what I'm looking at here. We're breaking below a major critical support. If at early open we come up and back test this support area, this up in this area right here, I would be looking for a continuation short on that one. Baba had earnings today, I think. No, they're not out yet. Okay, heads up on that. HIMS has been a beast. Oh man, wow, look at that. HIMS looks like it's showing some weakness here. So we're in this really strong uptrend. Now we're breaking a critical support this morning. So heads up on that. So this is that. And also I do want to point out in all these charts, we are breaking like this here. We are breaking a prior day's low. So this is that, and that's the same situation. We needed yesterday to digest in a very tight range, and that put in a higher low that we could trade against. And now this morning we're breaking below that higher low. That's why I was saying that all these indices were looking for shorts, because they tightened up that higher low so tight that it was very easy to come in this morning breaking below yesterday's low. So, and that creates our first short trigger that we've seen in a while. So first, breaking those prior day lows, that is really our, a very first indication that you want to be net short the markets whenever you start breaking prior day's lows for the first time. Okay, so bottom line is today's session looks like, as of right now, looks like you want to be short and stay short. And we saw in the VIX that they were keeping a bid in the VIX. They were keeping an elevated bid in the VIX yesterday. Now we're gapping up back into it this morning. And SQ was actually catching a bid again too, I think. Let me go over here on the daily. Okay, yeah. So each day we are ticking up higher on the skew here. Let me put that in a line chart so you guys can see it better. Style. Let me find it here. Candle. I want to put area. It's been an area chart. And as you can see here, each day we are ticking up a little bit higher on this skew. This is the amount of out of the money puts that are being versus out of money calls, and we've seen investors, they're putting they're hedging themselves at these highs. So be very mindful of that going forward. Okay, guys. So there you go. That's just some of the things I'm looking at here. Bottom line is, if you're short, stay short. Wait for it to come down into some of those major support areas. I do not think the downside is over early on in today's session, so be very mindful of that. Um, we don't know how far that range will expand, but we have to, uh, bottom line is you would think that given the magnitude of where we were at, that coming back down into these critical supports is a very real possibility. At the very least, these are your target one areas with the potential of completely repairing, uh, that this was a blow off top into major resistance, and that we repair all these fair value gaps before the week's out. And we could be actually closing on at or near last Friday's close. Okay. So just be very mindful that it doesn't have to play out this way. But that's my primary thesis that I'm looking at, that we have put in a major blow off top, into major resistance, and we and so be very careful in your trading. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Like I said, leave some comments below if you get a chance. Appreciate it. And retweet me on Twitter, Gumby9662C.